I just wanted to start off my channel here by doing a basic look that I wear. A lot of the time it's just a basic golden brown eyeshadow glam makeup look that I do when I'm going to work or going out with friends. And so I really hope you stick around and enjoy the video. Alright, so to get started here, I'm starting with my Estee Lauder, the Smoother is what it's called. This is just a primer, basic, smooths out pores. I really liked getting to use it. I bought an Estee Lauder foundation with it, and I didn't like the foundation as much as I like the primer. So I've stuck with that, but the foundation I still have in a drawer. It was just too dark for me, I think, was the problem that I had with it, so you know how that goes. So just kind of rub that in, smooth out all the pores and the skin, make it even, and there we go. And then I like to jump right into my foundation. I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape foundation. It's a newer one that I've just gotten, and I usually use Kat Von D, and I really liked that one. I feel like it actually still matches my skin tone, the Kat Von D, better. But I really like the Shape Tape. It's very full coverage, which is good because I still have some hyperpigmentation. I've been working a lot with my skincare and removed a lot of the acne that I used to have, but I still have some of the scarring and hyperpigmentation. It's lightening, but it's still not completely gone yet. So I just generously apply this all to my face and then take a beauty blender and go ahead and blend this guy out. And with this, you really want to do patting motions because the more you swipe, the more makeup you're basically just rubbing off of your face. It is way better if you can just pat everything in, and that'll get you that full coverage look that you're going for. And even if you're not going for full coverage, I still recommend, patting it in and just using a lighter coverage foundation. Because really, if you're swiping, you're just wasting the makeup. It's just taking it right off your skin, and there's really no point to doing that. So, just patting this in and blending it out. And then as soon as you have that blended out, I like to go ahead and set it with a powder. Today I'm using Mary Kay powder in the shade Avery 0.5. Just a nice loose powder that I'm using to set the foundation that we just put on here. So with that, you're just going to go in circles around the face, really setting in that foundation, making sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Of course the primer helps with that, but the more layers of makeup you have on, the more likely it is to stay on. And I picked this because it's a lighter translucent, or not translucent, it's got some color in it, but it's just a lighter coverage powder. And so it doesn't add and feel cakey, it just sets the makeup that you have in place. Perfect, so then once you set that foundation with that powder, I like to go ahead and go into my contour. I'm using the Lorac Pro palette today, and I like to use it with a BH Cosmetics just fan brush. And I like to use a combination of the light and the medium here for my cheekbones. So I just get a combination of that and start dusting it really from the ear to the bottom of my cheek, just to really highlight those cheeks, make them more prominent. So that's what we're doing here. The key to all of this is that I just take a lot of time when it comes to blending, especially since I'm so fair. If I don't blend, I end up looking like I just have a stripe across my face, and it doesn't look very natural, realistic, or pretty at all. So it really takes some time to sit here and to blend the makeup out. Definitely worth all of the blending efforts you put in. And then I like to go in as well. I have a Morphe 143 brush. It's a little bit bigger. And I just take that and I like to get a little bit more of that medium shade and just really blend in, go up to where I'm going to put my blush, and blend it just across the rest of the face, making sure I get under my chin to give us a little bit more definition. And then of course the sides of the forehead just to bring that face in, make it a little bit more oval. And you'll see that this actually looks a lot more natural once we add the blush as well. Then I also like to take my powder brush that we just used for the loose powder and help blend this out a little bit more, just make it a little bit more natural. And I also like to go back with my BH Cosmetics brush into the light, just the light powder, and just lightly do a little bit of a dusting on my nose to give it a little bit of contour, make it a little bit thinner, just down that bridge and on the sides. Make sure it's even there. Beautiful. And then just, of course, take my fluffy brush and blend it out. Perfect. And then I'm going to move on to the blush. So for today, I'm actually going to be using an e.l.f. palette that I have. It's in a light shade, so it's one of those palettes that has 4 different blushes. And I have this in light and dark just because there's so many different shades and I really like having that variety. So I've got both of those here. I just have to be a little bit lighter handed with the dark palette. So for this one today, since we're doing more of a orangey smoky eye, I'm going to be using this one and a combination of this one. So these two on the right side here. Just a small dusting of each, kind of shake off the brush to get rid of the excess, and then just keep it right on that cheekbone on the sides. Actually going to put my hair up just because it tends to get in the way here, so there we go. And then back to the blush, just getting a little combination of both colors and popping it right there on my cheeks. And then same thing with this, just to make it look more natural, I take my powder brush, just kind of blend it down and out. Once you're content with the blush, I know some people are really light-handed on the blush. They don't really like to look like they have red cheeks. I've always been a fan of it. Actually, I wasn't when I was little. My mom always gave me a hard time for not using enough blush, but here we are now, so I like it now. Alright, so next I'm going to go into my Becca highlighter. This is actually from their little trial kit that comes with a liquid and a powder, but I'm using just the powder highlight here. And just going lightly over where we put that blush. I'm using this one today. I usually use Dandelion Twinkle by Benefit, but today I decided to use this one just because it's a little bit more gold, if you can see, which I felt like with all these kind of brown, smoky, bronzy, orange colors, golds that we'll be doing today, that this one would be more fitting. So once you've blended that in, and again, this helps make that blush just look more natural, especially into that contour line. Everything just starts to kind of blend itself in. So once we have that down, we're going to go ahead and move on. That's the complete skin look. Go ahead and move on to eyebrows. And today I'll be using the Goof Proof pencil as well as the Precisely My Brow pencils from Benefit. I have the Goof Proof in shade 4, the Precisely My Brow in shade 5. I've kind of been going back and forth just depending on how dark I dye my hair. And I like these. I worked for Benefit for a few months. I actually worked for them for about a year. I was working for Benefit at the Brow Bar at Ulta. And I was actually there when these products launched, and so we got to go to some really cool launch parties and learn some really cool tips about them. And really I'm just going in, and I don't try and make my brows too much bigger or thicker or that much darker than my natural brows. Naturally I'm blonde, so my hairs are lighter on my brows. So I would say I go for more dark, but I still like to make them more natural. So typically I take that Goof Proof and just do a nice through the middle lining of it, and then I go in with the Precisely My Brow and just clean it up a little bit more with some sharper lines, just to really make them sharp. And of course, keep in mind with eyebrows, you're always going for what's best for the eye, which is typically straight up, right here, and to the ends is what you're really looking to do. And each brow is just going to be a little bit different from the other one. Keep in mind that eyebrows are sisters, never twins. And if you're anything like me, you've spent more than one morning taking 45 minutes on just your eyebrows, trying to make them identical, and it just isn't going to happen. So that's the biggest thing I tell myself, is just do what's best for each eyebrow, and it actually ends up making your face look better than if you're trying to make them look identical. So that's what we've got going on here. And then I just comb them into place. And then typically I like to go back with the beauty sponge that I use to blend my foundation, just to try and kind of even them out. Make them a little bit closer to the same shape there, so that they have that same curve and bump on top. So that's what we did there. just blending some of those lines. So for today's look, I'm using my Naked 3 palette as well as a Napoleon Curtis Loose Dust eyeshadow. I'm using the Naked 3 just because it's got a lot of warmer toned browns and some bronzy gold colors, so that's what I'm using today for the look. I'll be using a few of these shades and I'll go into detail on which ones I'm using. But to start off, of course, I'm going to prime my eyes. I'm using just Urban Decay's basic primer potion here. Get a good amount of this. Now, I typically also use their other one here. It's called Sin. And I like that one just a little bit better because it's got a shimmer to it, and I usually use a lot of sparkly eyeshadows. And so when I really want to stick with matte, I'll use this one, or when I'm running low on Sin, which I am right now, I'll go back to this one. But typically, if I have the choice, I'll use Sin because it's just got that shimmer. So with the primer, I typically try and get into the inner corner and just like dot it underneath my eyes as well, just because I will have some shadow and liner there. But really just evening the skin tone out between my foundation and my primer. Once you have your eyes primed, we're going to go into our Naked 3 palette. I'm starting with the lighter shade here called Limit. And so this I'm just using as more of a transition color. I'm popping that right there in my crease, as you can see. I'm just starting to get some definition in the eyes. Really blending that guy back and forth, just a light coating of this color. And you can go pretty high up with this one since it's going to be one of the lighter colors that we use just to transition all of our other shadows. You can go pretty high with it, almost to the brow bone, but not quite because we're going to want to highlight that. Yeah, but today's look, I just decided I really love this brown gold. This is probably my go-to every time I need to look made up. This is the eye look that I go for. So once we're done with that, we're going to still keep with a fluffy brush, but I'm actually going to go into this one called Nooner here. It's just a little bit darker, and I always tap my brush against the side just to make sure if there's any fallout. It's not going to go on my face because I like to start with my foundation. I know a lot of makeup artists will start with eyes first to catch the fallout, but personally I have always done my foundation first and I prefer to stick that way. So same thing with Nooner on this side, just rubbing it in. Again, this is still more of a transition color. I'm just not going as high with it, so I'm sticking right in these crease with a windshield wiper motion. Beautiful. And then I like to get still a fluffy brush, but kind of more, it's got, I don't know if you can see, more of a slant to it. And I just go in with this lightest one here on the palette, which is Strange. And I go ahead and just pop that guy on the brow bone, blend it out in little circles. Just really try and even out that eye look. And don't worry, we're gonna get a little bit darker here as well. But if you're going for more of a natural look, if you don't have somewhere fancy to go, if you're just going to work, if you're wanting something simple, you can really stop here and it already gives you some definition. But I'm going for just a little bit more of a dramatic look, so I'm going to go with a couple darker shades here. So next up, I'm going to go back into my palette here, and we're going to go with Factory. It's going to be this darker brown shimmery shade. And this time I'm using a little bit thicker of a brush. It's not as fluffy, it's a little bit more concentrated. That way I can just get in this crease and really deepen that shadow that we've already done. And this one I'm still taking all the way across in windshield wiper motion, still blending it all out. Usually I go in like little small circles back and forth in the crease. And just, again, it all comes down to blending. If you don't blend, things tend to look disastrous, so we're just going to keep on blending here. So now that we've got that darker shade in, I'm going to go grab one more brush. It's a little bit more tapered on the end here, so it gets really thin. And here I'm going to go into almost the darkest color, the second one to the last one, which is Dark Side. Now this one I'm still going to put in the crease, and I'm also going to put it on the outer corner of my eye, but you don't want to take it all the way across. Since this one is really dark, you want to keep it more just right here in this end of the eye and blend it right down here to the outer corner of the eye. And this is really going to help pop that eye open. You can see just much more definition there when you do this. It really just, I love it. It opens up the eye. Then I'm going to go into, it's actually out of the Naked palette now. If you do have the Naked 3 or you're using a different palette with some browns, this one has a nice gold that I like. But this one that I'm going to be using, like I said, is a Napoleon Purtis Loose Dust. And the reason that I really like it is it's just so shimmery and powerful. So I'm going to grab that eyeshadow as well as just a flat brush, lid brush. And this one, it just opens up. There's a little button here that pushes in and releases the eyeshadow dust. So I get a good little bit of that on my brush and tap it off, of course, to get the excess. And then we're just going to lay that here on the lid. And as you can see, it's just got that shimmery, sparkly gold. It's wonderful. And I've actually done this look a lot with my Naked Heat palette as well, just to give it more orange instead of brown. So that's another way you can take this look. I'll probably do one in the summer that's a little bit more orangey. Or it's really good in the fall as well, but this to me is just more basic, a little bit more natural. So if you're not going for something you know, fun and crazy, this can just be a nice natural base makeup look. And I do go over that little bit that we put on the outer corner. I'm going to go back over that in just a minute here, but you just want to really make sure you get that gold on those lids. And then, like I said, I go back to my Naked palette into Dark Side, put just a little bit more on this tapered brush and put it on the outer corner here and really blend it out just very, very lightly on the outer corner. We don't want to get too far in on the eye, or else it starts to take over where you just put the gold. And then I always like to come back with the brush that I used very first, that same fluffy brush. I go back into Nooner, just that light transition color, blend it out. And then since I like to do my foundation first, I always come back with just my powder brush that I used, that loose powder, and I just get the corners of my eye, right underneath, kind of the bridge of my nose area, really just make sure if there was any fallout, and I take care of that right now, because that concludes the shadows. So next we're going to move on to eyeliner. Alright, so I am always a fan of using a stick liner before I use a liquid liner. And I like to just pull my eyelid a little bit tight. You don't want to do too much because you'll end up, you know, pulling your skin, giving yourself wrinkles in the future. So just light enough to where you can get a nice tight line on the eyes. And I just like to go through with my pencil, line my lashes. I kind of pretend that I'm, you know, putting on fake eyelashes and that this is the glue, and I just try and get it as close to my lash line as possible so that it's not too much, too big, too heavy. So I put that on first just to give myself a guideline, and then I go in with my liquid liner. I've been a makeup artist for 4 or 5 years now, and I still have trouble with liquid liners, so that's why I like to do the stick, just because I feel like it gives me that guideline where if I stay in the line, like a coloring book, then I'm not going to mess it up, and then I get this really nice, dark, lined eye. So for those of you out there who can do that perfect winged look, that perfect lined look without having to draw it out first with the stick, I am completely in awe of you. That's fantastic. It's never been something I've been able to master. But then I go back with my stick and I do under just the corner of my eye. I kind of act like I'm connecting this black line we just did up here to the underneath. And I just do the very, very outer corner of my eye. And this is just going to open them up like crazy, make them look almost like doll eyes. Using the Naked 3 palette again, very flat, almost like a liner brush. I'm going to go back into Dark Side that we were using earlier. And I'm just gonna blend, like I said, kind of smoke this out a little bit more so that it's not just a concentrated line. And I'm gonna bring this under a little bit further, but it should get thinner as you go. Now I'm taking a tapered brush again with a little bit of Daisy, and I'm just going in on the inner corner of my eye there to help just brighten up that inner corner, really give it some shimmer there. Perfect, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on to curling our eyelashes. I actually have two different eyelash curlers. One is Tarte, one is Napoleon Purtis. And I like both just because they give me a different type of curl, and I'll usually use each one twice on each eye. So I start off just by really getting as much of my lashes in and looking down to get as much of that lash in the curler as possible. And I hold that there just for a few seconds, and then I loosely let go, move it a little bit up just to get it in a different spot, and then let go, and then I repeat with the one from Tarte. Just get as much in there as we can and curl, then move it up a little bit and curl. And the reason I do this is because it gives more of a natural curve instead of just going straight upward with the eyelashes. It really curls it out, and I think it gives more of a fake lash kind of a look when you go to do your mascara. So now that they're curled, I'm gonna go in with mascara. I have so many mascaras here. I've probably got probably over 10 mascaras just sitting here waiting to be used, but today I'll be using the They're Real mascara from Benefit. This one's just really thick and full, and when I do my top liner like this, I really like to give myself almost a fake lash look. I don't wear fake eyelashes a whole lot. I was blessed with naturally long eyelashes from my parents, so thank you, Mom and Dad. You can see with this, we just kind of roll and coat until our lashes have that nice level of volume, darkness, whatever it is that you look for. I know everyone's a little bit picky in their mascara and what they use. I've used all sorts of different mascaras, and I've found different things that benefit me in different ways. So sometimes I'll combine more than one mascara. I'm only going to use this one today. But sometimes I'll combine 2 or 3 mascaras. And then I just dot this along my bottom lashes as well, which really helps open up the eyes as well. If you haven't ever put mascara on the bottom lashes, it is a huge help to opening up the eyes and making you look much more awake and alert. Now, I always be careful because sometimes I end up looking like I have spider lashes on the bottom there, so never want to get too thick with the bottom mascara. But that's it for the eyes. So really that's kind of my go-to everyday makeup look. So all that's left really is lips, and I'm going to be using 2 from Urban Decay. I have Peyote and Ravenswood. So I start with the Ravenswood. It's kind of a darker pink color, very natural still. And I'm just giving myself a light coat with that one, really covering the lips. And then Peyote is like a nice sparkly light pink. I'm almost out of this one, but I like to do a coat over Ravenswood. It just lightens it up. I have a NYX Cosmetic gloss that I bought for my wedding actually. And I'm just going to take that and do a nice light coating. This one I like because it's gold, and so it fits this makeup look that we just did really well. And then I'll let my hair back down here so that you all can see the finished look. But yeah, like I said, just a basic everyday, you know, really pretty, really feminine, very gold, bronze kind of colors. But really easy to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you all soon.